Hey, it's Brandon Tenold of Brandon's Cult Movie Reviews. Join me for In Search of Darkness, Part 2.
The 80s was the splatter decade.
There was something really dark and sexy and strange.
People love this stuff.
I just couldn't get enough.
It's full of things that want to bite you and kill you and eat you.
I love those Italian movies. They're just crazy.
That's an image that I'll never forget.
Hey kids! Welcome to prime time.
Last year I reviewed the movie Phantasm, which is considered by many to be a horror classic. So what better way to wrap up Sequelween than by doing Phantasm 2? And since there's 3 more movies after this one, I might as well get started now since I like to finish at least some of the movie series I've started on this show. The first Phantasm was a low-budget, independently produced horror movie that made up in imagination and creativity what it lacked in money, and as a result became a sleeper hit when it was released in 1979 and helped launch the career of director Don Coscarelli. But unlike other low-budget horror hits at the time that became franchises right away, fans had to wait almost a decade before getting a sequel. Part of the reason for this is because Coscarelli originally didn't want to do a sequel, thinking that the ending to the first movie was a conclusive ending to the story. Let's see, how did the first movie end again? Oh yeah, I guess that was pretty conclusive. Eventually though, Coscarelli turned around on the idea of making a sequel, and in 1988 we got Phantasm 2. Also, instead of being a low-budget independent movie like the first, Phantasm 2 was produced by Universal Studios and had a budget of $3 million, which was 10 times what the first movie cost. Okay, so that's still not exactly blockbuster level money, but for an 80s horror flick, a good filmmaker could do some cool shit with that. So let's see how Coscarelli does with Phantasm 2. Damn, even the opening title seems to want you to know this movie's more expensive than the first one. No more plain red lettering for this movie. I'm not really sure why this girl's looking at storyboards from the original, but hey, whatever gets us to a recap of what happened. If you were wondering just how the story was going to continue after the ending to the first one, this does show us what happened. Although the flashback adds some footage showing the tall man pulling up to Mike's house in a car, I always kind of thought it was creepier when he just appeared out of nowhere. What I'd really like is if this flashback explained the tall man's haircut at the end of the first one. Also, instead of Mike being dragged into a formless black void, we learned that it was actually just his closet the whole time. Quick, Reggie, save him! Okay, instead of a fake cat scare, we get a real dwarf scare. One way you can tell this had a bigger budget than the first, they're showing off the scary dwarf makeup a lot more. I'm still gonna do this, though. Ah, come on, you know I had to get that joke out of the way. Good plan, Reggie. Leave the gas on and then force these things to pay the bill at the end of the month. That'll show them. I know some people consider dwarf tossing unethical, but I don't know if dwarf baseball was a good replacement. Alright, time to take Mike's stunt double and get the hell out of here. Yeah, you two may have escaped, but the tall man's still the one who gets to calmly walk away from the explosion in slow-mo. The girl from the beginning is Liz, who not only has a psychic connection with Mike, but has also been getting visions of the tall man, and her drawings prove that he really was the original Slender Man. Anyway, it's now several years later, and Mike is now all grown up, and hey, wait a second, that's not Mike! Alright, this is one of the biggest sources of fan division for this movie because it's the only one to recast one of the major characters from the original. Don Coscarelli wanted to cast A. Michael Baldwin, who played Mike in the original movie again, but the studio insisted on a working actor, so James LeGros was cast as Mike instead, a decision that did not go over too well with fans of the first one. Yeah, you know what? Screw this James LeGros guy. Hashtag not my Mike. Alright. To be fair, the decision to recast Mike was pretty much forced on Coscarelli, and James LeGros is perfectly fine as Mike. The only issue here is continuity with the other movies. I'll just be glad the studio didn't try to recast the tall man, otherwise they would have ended up like this guy from the first one. Anyway, Mike's been confined to a psychiatric hospital since everyone's convinced the events of the first film were all in his head, which is kind of what the ending to the first movie said too before it got to that tall man twist. It's all good though, just tell the psychiatrist what he wants to hear.
Really went over the deep end. I mean, I got to the point where I couldn't distinguish fantasy from reality.
I mean, I was like a completely different person back then. Even though Mike's been released, it's going to be hard for him to get a decent job, so just start with grave robbing and go from there.
I was afraid I'd find you here.
Unlike A. Michael Baldwin, Reggie Bannister comes back from the first film, and considering he hadn't acted since then and got an offer to be in a multi-million-dollar movie released by a major studio, I'm surprised they got him to say yes.
Now that's the third one I dug up. Now, does that strike you a little strange, Riggs, that every single corpse in this entire graveyard's missing?
I don't know, I blew up a house full of killer Jawas. This isn't that weird by comparison. Reggie agrees to help Mike out, but first he's got to meet Reggie's family.
Aunt Martha came down and Celeste baked a turkey. Little Bonnie, she just can't wait to meet her Uncle Mike.
Wait a second, mentioning your family in a horror movie? They don't have 2 days till retirement, do they?
You gotta get the people out of your house, man. The gas in there's gonna go up and it's gonna blow!
Aw, damn it, and I just finished paying off that house, too! Well, sorry your entire family was killed, Reggie, but on the plus side, both you and Mike just got drafted into the Men in Black. Now you can help people forget the crappy sequels of both series. Reggie decides to help Mike find and destroy the Tall Man once and for all, but before they do that, we're gonna need a good old-fashioned shopping montage. Fighting the forces of evil is a lot like landscaping your backyard. They also stock up on weapons from a Doom game like shotguns and chainsaws. Unfortunately, BFGs are out of stock, but Reggie proves you can weld two double-barreled shotguns together to make a double-barreled shotgun. You know, combined with Mike's flamethrower, I think they really are stocking up on 90s first-person shooter weapons. That makes sense. A Turok game had a weapon like the brain-drilling silver ball thingies from the first movie. Coscarelli said he wanted Phantasm 2 to be more like a road movie, with Mike and Reggie going from town to town on the Tall Man's trail. A good way to tell where the Tall Man's been is when the towns look as dead as the bodies he collects.
Small towns are like people. Some get old and die a natural death. Some are murdered.
Yeah, and some places become undead and refuse to fully die. Just look at Detroit. Bad news, fellas. The Tall Man's already been here and turned the cemetery into an awesome metal band album cover. Wait a second. Carrie White Burn in Hell? Ah, damn it, we're in the wrong movie. You know, in that outfit, it kind of looks like Mike's cosplaying as the Exterminator. Or possibly the Exterminator 2. Just like the first movie, this has some nudity, although it's a lot less sexy this time around. Or more, depending on what you're into. Mike, why are you eyeing up that corpse? Maybe there's something in this basement from Night of the Demons. Oh shit, that's another sequel I gotta do sometime. And Mike, don't trust things you find in dingy horror movie basements. Even if it's a cute blonde girl, something bad is probably gonna happen.
You play a good game, boy.
Boy, Coscarelli's sure enjoying that bigger budget, isn't he? And even though it's not the right horror series, this thing looks like it's about to say, "Welcome to prime time, bitch." Considering the first movie ended trying to make you think the whole thing was a dream, I wouldn't be surprised if this movie ended with the revelation Mike and Reggie are really road-tripping serial killers going on a murder spree. Meanwhile, Liz goes to her grandfather's funeral, and here's a tip, don't pick a funeral home where the morticians look like the undead. And wait a second, is that Stacy Travis's her sister?
I've got to get going now. It's 20 miles back to the station. Take care.
And that's it for Stacy Travis, so hope you enjoyed that character. Stacy's doing the smart thing by getting out of here, which is a hell of a lot more than I can say for Liz.
Jerry?
Alright, I can already tell going into this room is a bad idea. If you were wondering just how evil the Tall Man is, I think he just shit out a steaming coffin turd.
Graveside service is about to begin.
And he also jump scares people. I hate to tell you this, Father, but even Jesus can't help you now.
Forgive me, Lord. I must end this sacrilege. It must be stopped.
Just hang on there, Father. At least wait until after the third movie to stop things. Sorry, ma'am, but I have reason to suspect your husband was a vampire. One of the great things about the first movie was its low-budget creativity, and even though it's not as gritty or surreal as the first one, Coscarelli still gives us its own style, too. It's just a more high-budget style. I will admit that this one does rely on jump scares a little more than the first one, though. Yeah, what's really scary is they actually ended up banging after that. Meanwhile, Mike and Reggie continue their road trip and even pick up a hitchhiker who looks like the corpse Mike saw earlier. And I'm glad the movie showed me that, because if they didn't, I probably wouldn't have put that together.
I picked her up about 50 miles back. Mike, this is Alchemy.
Kimmy for short.
Alchemy, huh? So were you a witch or a stripper? I think Reggie might have another reason for giving her a ride.
Shit, Mike. Have you looked at her? You know, we've been out here a long time. Besides, it gets hard on the road.
Yeah, I'll say. You don't even want to know what Reggie's been doing with that gun while you're asleep, Mike.
So, Kimmy, where are you headed?
To my hometown, Paragord.
Yeah, well, I hate to break it to you, Alchemy, but it looks like your hometown just left town.
We're gonna have to find a place to hold up.
You know, my uncle owns a bed and breakfast on the other side of town.
Your uncle's still here? Why? Oh, what a surprise. It's boarded up like the rest of town.
Damn. I can't believe they just abandoned the place.
Really? 'Cause I sure can. Oh well, that just means you won't have to pay. Now you just need to rig up some R-rated Home Alone traps and you're good to go.
You're gonna sleep safely tonight.
As long as I don't sleepwalk, right?
We'll just stay in bed. We'll be back before dawn.
Reggie's gonna be real disappointed when he finds out Alchemy's actually 16. Or who knows, maybe he won't be. Oh, right, Liz. She gets a calling card from the tall man and decides to go after him too. And to make matters worse, the tall man just dug up RoboCop. We see a little bit more of the tall man's process. After he digs up the bodies, their blood is replaced with mellow yellow. And does he have the killer from My Bloody Valentine working for him?
Gravers. They're the ones that exhume the bodies for him.
I don't know, they're wearing gas masks. Shouldn't you call them gassers? Shit, looks like the tall man even dug up Vern Troyer's grave. And what did you learn? You didn't learn to stay the fuck away from the tall man, that's for sure.
You think that when you die, you go to heaven. You come to us.
When doing research for this video, I couldn't find anything about the studio wanting to replace Angus Scrimm as the tall man, and now you know why. Not only is the tall man back, but so are his balls, and they're bigger and shinier than ever. Plus, more money means they can do more stuff. Too bad the tall man didn't have a ball playing stuck in the middle with you during that part. Despite the fancy new tricks, sometimes the good old-fashioned kills from the first movie are all you need, even if they did get cut by the MPAA. Another bonus of having a higher budget, the tall man's now able to afford a wire effects team. Well, I think she learned her lesson. I'll just be on my way. I got more bad news, Liz. Your grandma's a Jawa now. You know, at the rate old people shrink, she was probably gonna end up like this eventually anyway.
Sorry, Grandma.
Liz finally escapes, and considering they built up her psychic connection with Mike, they should probably meet up with each other considering we're now an hour in.
What the hell's going on here?
You're seriously cock-blocking me, Reggie, that's what! Well, this is great. Now Mike and Reggie have potential love interests.
Yeah, I could use some sleep.
Come on, I'll watch over you. No, I'll watch over you.
I mean, I was planning on watching you sleep anyway, but this way I won't need a peephole. Oh shit, even Reggie can't believe that line worked. Alright, time for Reggie to get some post-dead family sex. Huh, that's weird. Usually Reggie's the awkward one in situations like this. Hey babe, this is great and all, but could you at least let me take my pants off first?
How was that?
I think the explosion somehow made that less awkward.
Forget it, Mike. There's nobody out there. It's like Kimmy's uncle had a cat or a dog or something. I can't tell.
Don't worry about it, Reggie. I'm pretty sure Mr. Whiskers was evil anyway. And at least one of you should have stood on guard for the other people in the house. Girl. Well, great. The tall man just kidnapped Liz, but at least this means we get a car chase scene like in the first one.
Well, shoot the fucker!
Yeah, Reggie, quit cock-teasing us with that shotgun. Well, no way to choke Reggie.
Hey, seatbelt's jammed. Give me a knife.
You know, if this movie just ended with the tall man flicking a cigarette onto the gasoline and killing both of them, I'd actually be okay with that.
Clear. Come on, okay, let's
go! Oh, damn it, and I just paid off that car, too!
Come on. Let's go kick some ass.
Ah, trailer line, which they oddly didn't use in the actual trailer. I'm still not exactly sure what the tall man's doing, but it seems like he's making an infomercial for the world's most evil juicer. And to make matters worse, he even killed Sam Raimi. Come on, at least wait until after Spider-Man 2 to do that. Look, fellas, I don't think spiking the tall man's evil dwarf pea juice with acid is gonna do much. If anything, that'll just create the demons from Demons 2. They also discovered that the flying silver balls are also keys to the tall man's dimension. Well, that's a little impractical. Just imagine falling over and landing on one of these fuckers the wrong way. Now come on, guys, hurry up and save Liz, will ya? Oh shit, never mind. Looks like Liz can handle herself. So far, I think she's kicked more ass than Mike and Reggie have. Just look at what happens when Mike tries to rescue her. Nice job, Mike. Like I said, the higher budget means the balls can do more than just suck out brains. For example, they're also handy stigmata machines. There's also a bigger golden ball, which is so scary this guy would rather pull an Ash Williams and chop his hand off than fuck with it. For starters, the thing's like a mini Death Star. I'm not joking. Also, I think I may have figured out why Sam Raimi was referenced earlier. God damn, this thing is like a Swiss Army ball. Except instead of having a bottle opener, it does this. This is what happens when somebody's BDSM fetish goes too far. Anyway, how's Reggie doing? Are we finally gonna see him use that quad shotgun? Nope, still gotta keep waiting. Oh well, I guess Reggie will have to use the weapons when you run out of ammo in a first-person shooter. Ooh, I see somebody's overcompensating for something. I know I already compared him to the killer from My Bloody Valentine, but this chainsaw guy really does look like he could be the villain in his own slasher movie. Phew, that was close. Not as close as this, though. Yeah, that's right. It's not the size of the chainsaw, it's how you use it, asshole. Speaking of using things, come on, Reggie. You've built up this quad shotgun for almost the entire movie and you haven't fired it once yet. Time to show people what it can do. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Now that you know that thing works, you gotta use it more. Or just throw it away, whatever you feel like. Well, at least they finally got their key. I think this is the tall man's equivalent to using somebody's thumbprint to unlock their phone. Except instead of getting to see their text, it unlocks a doorway to another world.
Let me show you something.
I don't know, it was more impressive when you did the same thing for 1/10 of the money in the first movie. Unfortunately for them, the tall man really doesn't appreciate when you try to enter his world without knocking first. Oh shit, Mike just got transported to the angry red planet. Weirdly, despite the bigger budget, the tall man's world doesn't look that much more impressive than in the first movie. Even if this one does have a Nesquik fetus in it. Things look bad, but they could be worse. Normally the tall man uses that thing as a urinary catheter.
Hey! Suck on this.
Yeah, that's right. How's it feel to get a taste of your own medicine? Oh, shit. And guess what, Mike? The tall man's got a bigger effects budget this time, too. No, don't do that! You already saw an alien pop out of his head. Filling him with acid is just gonna turn him into a xenomorph. Or just lead to more Sam Raimi influenced parts. I already showed a clip from Evil Dead 2, so here's a clip from the first one. Alright, you killed the tall man, destroyed his lair, and Alchemy even dropped by to give you a ride. Wait a second, didn't they also think they killed the tall man in the first one?
You know, I've been thinking about it.
Okay, look, Reggie, even if Alchemy ain't exactly human, she's still pretty far out of your league. And don't worry about Reggie. He's like the tall man. You can kill him all you want and he just keeps coming back.
We're gonna wake up. It's a dream.
It's only a dream.
No, it's not.
Like I said at the end of the first movie, don't fuck with the tall man, kid. Although Phantasm 2 did make more than double its budget back, it was still considerably less profitable than the original. It also got mostly negative reviews from critics, but then again critics didn't really like the first one either when it came out, so fuck them. Original Mike actor A. Michael Baldwin wasn't a fan of it either. Gee, I wonder why that could be. As a result of the disappointing reception, the third movie in the series only received a very limited theatrical release before going direct to video, which would be the norm for the series from then on. Too bad, because this should have made Phantasm into a mainstream theatrical horror franchise, especially compared to some of the other horror sequels released that year. Phantasm 2 does what any good sequel should do. It continues the story and characters from the original while adding enough new elements and having enough of its own style and identity to not feel like a retread. Whether or not you like it better than the first movie is largely going to depend on if you prefer the original's grungier, more surreal tone, or this one's slicker, more straightforward approach. And being a sequel, it doesn't have the originality of the first film, but the extra effects and action afforded by the larger budget help to make up for this. So if you liked the first one and were wondering if the sequels were any good, this Halloween check out Phantasm 2. So that's it for Sequelween. You know, I guess I could have also done a Godzilla movie since those are technically sequels. Eh well, what's done is done. Until next time.
Besides, it gets hard on the road.
Reg, you're thinking with your wrong head.